What's a nighttime routine that you do with your kiddos? I've been thinking about what sort of things other people talk about with their kids at the meal table. But actually, if you can start to see it as like, this is a really intentional time of the day. Do you have to work through a little grief in the change that you had a relationship with your first child when your second came? Do you have any practical tips to slow my weight gain down at this point? I'd appreciate any advice you have concerning this issue. Yes, I do have some practical tips. I have 4 littles, 5 and under. I feel like a broken record most days dealing with the same issues about siblings. Not sharing, hitting, unkind words, tattling. If you're new here, my name is Lana. I'm a mom of 5 and I help new moms who are living just in a state of overwhelm and sleep deprivation just transform into the faithful, capable, and just peaceful mothers they have always longed to become. If that is you, I would love for you to hit subscribe. So I know I'm talking to new moms, but just in case you also happen to be pregnant, I wanted to let you know I have a free birth workshop that just helps you transform your whole birth experience. After 5 natural births, I feel like I have some just game changers that can really help you change your whole prep and birth experience that I really wish that I had known sooner, and I feel like can be a real help to you. So if you're interested in that, the link is down below. Okay, the first one is I've been thinking about what sort of things other people talk about with their kids at the meal table. It seems silly, but it's real. Okay, so that's the first part. What do we talk about at the meal table? And I don't think that's a silly question at all. I can actually remember when I was a new mom, when I had like 1 to 2 kids, I actually would get a fair amount of anxiety when I sat down at the dinner table. And I think it was because the atmosphere is off. So I know your question is about what do we talk about at the dinner table, but I think first it starts with like the environment that you set. And Margaret and I talk a lot about this in Take Back Your Home, like this little mini course that we did. But actually, one thing that I wish I knew when I had 1 to 2 kids and that atmosphere felt crazy because you're trying to get kids to try different foods and you feel like they're not really listening to you and it's just chaotic, is to just turn the lights way down low, light a little candle, put on some soft music, just look like you're happy to be at the table, get everything kind of set there, and then just ask kids to take 1 or 2 bites of something. It doesn't have to turn into a huge power struggle, but then, really paying attention to them, bringing them into conversation. And, this is not when my husband and I are doing like a big catch up of our day. We might a little bit, but really this is like when we're, we've worked so hard to get this food on the table, even if it's not the best thing ever. It's so nice just to carve out a little moment together and be intentional. And so some things that we might talk about, we might say, hey, let's talk about high, low, high. Like, what was a high from your day? What was something that was really awesome from your day? What's one thing you learned in homeschool today? What's one thing that was really fun at co-op, like a little homeschool co-op? But let's say you had a toddler. It could be like, what did you do with mommy today that was really fun? What did you do at preschool that was really fun? Or it could be like a low, like what's one thing that's kind of making you sad right now? Where we would typically do high, low, high, like especially before bed. Another thing we do is these little question decks. Okay, so I have it in a little baggie, I guess because the thing broke, but questions for humans. So these are from John Deloney. I don't know if you've ever listened to him. He has a great podcast. He's through like the Ramsey Network, like Dave Ramsey. But so questions for humans. Okay, when was the last time you cried in a movie? So again, like I'm thinking, do you have a toddler? Like, it could be like, think of a silly, and you can always change it, right? You can riff from this. So it can be like, what is a part of a movie recently that made you sad or made you laugh or made you giggle? Could be that one. These are the friends ones, but they have some for family. They have some for coworkers. What's your favorite t-shirt and what does it say about you? That one probably wouldn't be. So we'll skip through. Like Matt and I will scream, what's the nicest thing someone has ever done for you? That'd be a great one for like a small child. Like, what's the nicest thing? And it's so interesting when you ask questions, when you have a prompt, because you start to realize, I've never asked that question before. I don't really even know what the answer might be out of my toddler's mouth or out of my child's mouth. And it really gets some good conversation flowing. I think sometimes we think, we've got to eat, like dinner time. But actually, if you can start to see it as like, this is a really intentional time of the day, and I'm going to just get all that we can from it and really make it a connection point, because we might disperse throughout the day, but we're all sitting down together, no phones, no screens, and we're going to make it count. What's a nighttime routine that you do with your kiddos? She said, I didn't grow up a Christian and my husband is not. I want to end the night with some sweet time of prayer, a song, or some sort of conversation to hear their heart. I love that. She said, a lot of times I'm tired and I just want to fall asleep. Like, every mom's like, amen to that. And not put in the extra effort. Yeah, we feel that, especially at the end of the long day. So I feel what she's saying. Like, we've had a really long day and we're like, just get in the bed. Here's what I would say. Just make it really intentional, but it doesn't have to be long and drawn out. It doesn't have to be complicated. Like, some things we do high, low, high, so we can kind of get a pulse on, like, hey, was there some like kind of like low that I missed today? You know, we'll say, is there anything that you want me to pray for you about? Sometimes they'll open up for that. I'm trying to think what else. My husband's currently, like, when they get into bed early enough, reading a Jocko Willink book, like a kid's book. So that's a sweet connection time for him, because I'm doing a lot of homeschool stuff through the day, so it's nice for him to read. But, you know, since you're the only believer in your house, I think just like one thing we say to our kids, is there anything you can do to make us love you more? No. Is there anything you can do to make us love you less? No. And that's because there's nothing we can do to make Jesus love us more or Jesus love us less. Like, his love is freely given and not earned. And so that's like a sweet anchor. So just some like little truths that you want to tuck away in their heart. Like, you know, I pray over them. I pray that you will love the Lord with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, with all of your strength. So just praying scripture over them is really powerful. But just taking the pressure off. Like, sometimes we sing a worship song, sometimes we don't. All of my kids are like in a bunk room right now. So it actually has made bedtime a lot easier, because I'm not having to bounce around to each, you know, kid's room. The baby's in her own room. So you could just gather them on the couch if you didn't have that situation and do it kind of like that. But actually they go to bed pretty easy that way. And if they're having trouble going to bed at night, I know you didn't ask this question, but just really making sure that everybody's physically active enough through the night, and you're turning the lights way down low as the sun goes down, because it just, you know, helps their brains get ready for bed and land the plane. But yeah, so I know that's tough if you feel like you're kind of carrying that spiritual weight on your own, but I think little anchors like that at night, I think it's really going to touch a kid's heart. And especially if you're like, is there anything I can pray for you about? Just laying your hands and praying over them. And what's beautiful is then they learn to do that for you. If they see you struggling, moms, or anything I pray for you about, putting their hands and praying over you, it's really beautiful. So I think there's just something really sweet when the lights are off and you're hearing a child's heart. But it just does take a little bit of time and attention. So just asking the Lord, like, okay, help me to show up well and finish well. And that helps if we're doing that earlier, not way later. So it's tough in baseball season and things, when things just keep you up longer, but that's been helpful for us. So if you're tired at night, it doesn't have to be long. Just try to make it something small and meaningful. Point them back to Christ so that their last thoughts of the day can be just about him. You know, if you feel like your kid is struggling a little bit, when the lights are out, it's a really great time to just be like, hey, is there anything I can pray for you about? Just putting your hands over them and praying over them. That's been some of the most impactful conversations, some of the richest gospel conversations, you know, especially shortly after funerals and things like that. Kids' just hearts are really tender. And so it doesn't have to be long. In fact, it might be better that it's short. Not creating some kind of big routine that you can't live up to, your energy can't live up to every day, but just something small and meaningful, I think can go a long way. Here's the next question. I have a 5-month-old and an almost 4-year-old, both girls, and I was wondering if you have any tips for nursing a distracted baby with a toddler that feels so sad that she can't be with you. Oh my goodness. My oldest has a very sensitive heart, and though I explained to her that her sister loves her so much and wants to play instead of eat, she has to be quiet or play outside the room, and she still gets so hurt. I make intentional time with her when baby is napping and try to fill her cup, but would love your wisdom. That's tricky. And she said, does a baby eventually learn to eat without distractions? Yes. I'm thinking back to when I had 2, and I can see why this would be a problem when you have 2, but I think a baby does learn to eat whenever they can, you know. They do go through this small time where they are very distracted. I think it kind of passes. And maybe there's something specifically she can do and look forward to at nursing times. Now, I know that, like, for me, I didn't just nurse at certain times during the day very rigidly. Like, I had rhythms, but then like if the baby got hurt or if the baby's sad, like I might nurse the baby, and I wouldn't be able just to like hide away from the rest of my family and do that. It would just have to be like whenever. And so there's also like that reality. But if you could just get her, I don't know, I'm thinking she's a toddler. What could she be really excited about? I mean, she's really excited about time with you. So that's tricky, but maybe a Yodo. I mean, it doesn't have to be that expensive, but like a little Yodo player that she has some headphones, and maybe she could even sit quietly beside you so she's not having to be away from you. But she could look at books and listen to something. That's an idea. So you could kind of set her up. That could also just be like room time for her, you know, like you kind of get her set up with some toys that she only specifically plays with during that time. And, you know, it's going to take maybe 20 minutes ish to nurse like a tiny baby. And so, you know, maybe it's like, I even put like little fun music on the Yodo, like up kind of high where they can't get it sometimes, and just let that play. And then I'll even just leave my 18, just some little toys that she only gets to play with, and she'll sit in there for 10 to 15 minutes. She won't be happy about it at first. She'll be mad about it, but it's okay. Like, I know you probably don't want to feel like you're breaking that relationship, but you're not. Like you're really trying to fill her cup in other times, and like staying connected, you know, it is really, really important, but I don't think it's going to break your relationship. And that's just part of like them kind of learning that they have to share you, and that's okay. My midwife always said that when you have your second, your first gets dethroned, and you're like, what? Like, my kid wasn't on any throne, you know, but she's like, you're on the throne of your heart. I'm like, that's where Jesus is. But I knew what she meant. Like, they kind of have to go through this time where they're not going to be happy that they have to share you, but forevermore they're going to have to. So it sounds like you're doing a great job. I'm not sure that that's super helpful, but maybe just something that she can look forward to. Secondary question: do you have to work through a little grief in the change that you had a relationship with your first child when your second came? What did this look like for you, and what did the Lord teach you? Yes, I remember being a little bit sad that my relationship was going to change. And you think, like, am I ever going to love my other babies like I love my first? It's okay to be a little bit sad. Like, I've had friends who've honestly been like, I'm a little sad that everything's going to change. And that's okay. And it's actually wise to know, like, this season's never going to be again. There's never going to be a season when it's just you and your baby. You know, the seasons shift. But it's just a sweet time that you had, and you got to strengthen that relationship, and you got to train them very specifically, and then another baby comes on board. It's okay to have that season of grief, but honestly, it's like another, you know, room in your heart opens up, and you find that you had more love than you didn't know that you had, and your love just doubles and triples, and it's just amazing. And so yeah, it's just a season of shifting. So I get your question, and I understand it, and I've actually heard it from a lot of friends too. Okay, here's the next question. It's about pregnancy, and she said, I'm 22 weeks pregnant, and I'm eating all the time, and I've already gained 10 kilograms. So must not be in the US, but normal expected weight gain for the whole gestational period is 15 kilograms, if I'm not mistaken. Now I'm worried that I still have the third trimester to contend with, and I've already gained so much. Do you have any practical tips to slow my weight gain down at this point? I'd appreciate any advice you have concerning this issue. Yes, I do have some practical tips. Don't beat yourself up. There's something you can do about it. You've probably gained weight because maybe a lot of carbs. And it's hard when we're in that first trimester and we just feel like, gosh, like, what can we eat? And we don't feel great. It's just not fun. Here's what I'm going to say. I'd say aim for 100 grams of protein a day, and just look up a list of different ways you can get proteins, like eggs, yogurt, protein powders, like some clean protein powders, beef sticks. A whole chicken breast is like 40 something grams of protein. Just really focus on getting that protein and kind of spreading it throughout the day. Like if you take 100 grams and you divide it by 3, trying to get that in every meal. Honestly, you will eat so much less. You will feel like your blood sugar is a lot more stable. It's going to help you a ton. And then the other thing I would say is if you can really, really, in that third trimester, try to cut sugar as much as you can. The pregnancies, I've done that. I've gained the least amount of weight. I've bounced back a lot better. And I've actually had babies that we're not as big. Now, I am a big proponent that I don't think big babies are necessarily a problem, but I think that gestational diabetes happens when, sorry, you can literally hear my chickens right outside of the window. I think a lot of times this happens with lots of carbs, not enough protein, and just getting in a bad like sugar cycle where you eat sugar, you go like this, and you feel like because your blood sugar is going down and it makes you feel sick, you have to pull it back up with more carbs, when really that protein is going to help us stay level. So that's what I would say. That's what I say in my course, Labor Without Fear. I have a couple modules on each trimester, and on food, real food pregnancy. I think that book is really good, but just lots of good quality proteins. I think it's going to keep your weight down. You're not going to be as hungry. It's going to keep that blood sugar stable, which can be a struggle in pregnancy, and you're not going to have as much weight gain. That's what I would say. And keep moving as much as you can. Walk a ton. Don't, I know we have to be careful, but keep lifting weights. Actually keeping that muscle on board is going to help your metabolism. It's going to help your blood sugar level. It's going to help you bounce back. So lifting weights in a smart way and staying strong is going to help a ton too. All right, so this is a gal who, she's actually a member of my Labor Without Fear, but I did a video on pain-free birth, and she said, how do you make sense of what it says in Genesis about Eve and her punishment after eating the fruit, painful labors, and how some women seem to be exempt from it? Have you heard about Yolande Norris Clark? She talks a lot about it in her birth experiences. Wanted to hear your thoughts. I'm not a super big fan of her because I feel like she has a lot of new age thoughts in there. I think she has a lot of like manifestation thoughts in there. And I feel like she uses enough scripture to where you kind of think maybe you're jiving and on the same track as a believer, but I don't think that, yeah. So what I would say about the Eve situation in, the fall, talking about the curse and how there would be pain in childbirth, I think it's still there. And what I'll say about it is I feel like what the Lord does is he helps us. He is there with us. I definitely think that because of the fall, labor and birth, it's not seamless. It's hard. But I would say 95% of the time it's natural, it's normal, but it's work. I mean, it's a working pain and it's not easy. And I think we as women are scared of it, inherently, and we have to kind of work past that. And it may not always go the way we want to. All those things, just like I think with a man and his work, it's hard. Like the ground is hard, They struggle to provide for their family, and they struggle to find meaning in what they're doing, and they struggle, it's just a struggle is what I'm trying to say. But I think sometimes we interpret it as it's like cursed, as in that it's always going to go wrong and we need to be saved from it. I don't think that's what it's saying. I'm saying I think it's a struggle, and we need help, and we need the help of the Lord. That's the main way I interpret it. I think the Lord redeems it in a lot of ways, because now that it's hard, we have to rely on him to get through it and to walk that road. I don't think it's redeemed in the sense that we're going to be exempt as believers from it. Because if we took that and we put it towards a man and his work, that would mean that it's never going to be a struggle. And it is. Like, a work for man is a struggle. It's a struggle to have that load on his back to provide for his family. So I'm not sure I'm articulating myself in the way that I want to, but the way I see it is that birth is a working pain, not a hurting pain. The Lord never leaves us nor forsakes us. He created that baby. He created our body. He knows what he's doing. We get the right team on board. That's what we can do, is hire the best birth team we can, people we really trust. For me, I like having my babies at home. I like hiring a midwife who's extremely well versed in that, and that's the first thing that she's going to do, is try to keep me from transporting unless something's wrong. And I believe that the brain decides 100% of the time whether we feel pain or not. And so it's really important for our brain to believe that we're safe and that everything is okay. And then I think you feel less pain that way. So that's what I would say to all that. I haven't gotten deeply entrenched into what Yolande Clark believes, but I think is dangerous. From all that I've seen, it seems very dangerous with lots of new age manifesting things. I think the event that she throws with another woman has like tarot card reading and like all kinds of just crazy stuff that as a believer I feel like is not right. And so that's what I would say to that. And the last question is, I would love to see a video on biblical discipline. I have 4 littles, 5 and under. I feel like a broken record most days, dealing with the same issues about siblings, not sharing, hitting, unkind words, tattling. I really look up to your wisdom since I'm a little further along. Well, I have to tell you that it's like that here today. I've been interrupted in this video a million times because of some of those things just there, and it's just part of it. I just say, don't grow weary in doing good. You know, good character or bad character corrupts good company. Trying to get good friends for our kids so that they can kind of have a vision of what's possible, but also, you know, us just persevering. I don't know what to say. I think we're going to be a broken record, and I think that's why the Lord says in Deuteronomy, like, talk about the word basically wherever you go, because we're going to need to, and we're being disciplined as we discipline. As we take time to tend to that child's heart, we also have, like, it's like the Lord's tending to our heart when we set aside our time. And I feel like a hypocrite because I'm like being interrupted in the video and I'm like, come on guys. But what I'm trying to say is, many times I'm in the middle of something and I have to take a kid to the bathroom and I have to get eye to eye with them. And I'm not saying, why are you doing this? I know why they're doing it. You know, they're sinful. It's more so of like, hey, you cannot hit your sister like that. Like, we're not going to do that. It's just not right. The Lord is just, we're not going to get our revenge, and you just can't do that. And just holding them to that expectation. And then as long as they know that we're going to be consistent, I think the main things is just to not discipline in your anger. You know, if you feel like you're angry, just give it some time. Set a 10-minute timer while they sit in the bathroom, and do not just interact for 10 minutes, because you got to get your logical side of your brain back on board before you try to talk to a child. You know, and you have to remember during those 10 minutes, they are a child, and I am disobedient too, and the Lord has to discipline me, and you know, I am a co-sinner with them. I struggle too to do the right thing even when I don't want to, and just like almost like having empathy before we try to go in, so that we're not talking down to them. We're coaches. We're coaching them, which means, you know, we're still being coached too. I'm not sure if that's helpful. Just perseverance. Your kids are really little, and it sounds like you're trying, you know, and just keep trying. Just don't grow weary in doing good. And just talking to older, wiser women who you really respect. You respect the fruit of their parenting. You respect their, like, the kids that maybe they're grown and they have good relationship and they're respectful to their parents. Like, talk to them. Ask them, what do you wish you had done differently? And I think the main thing I've heard is just like, you have to be consistent. Like, don't throw down any rules you're not willing to keep. Actually, my boss, when I was a college softball coach, I was an assistant. She's like, Lana, don't make any rules you're not willing to keep. And I think sometimes we're like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, and we don't follow through, and then the kids just don't trust us anymore. So I think if they know mama means it, mama keeps her word, I think sometimes it's just better for us to get really quiet than just to throw out false things, if that makes sense. So I hope that encourages you. So that's all the questions I have gotten today, and I just really hope that there's just one that just really encourages you. I know that we're all out there trying to do the good work, and it's not easy, but if we'll just do the next right thing, be as faithful as we can, I think that we're just little by little going to be growing as moms. I think that's what's really beautiful about motherhood, is it pushes us to grow, and it pushes us to change. We can't stay the same. We have to grow. If you need another video, I just did one on 10 things I wish I knew as a new mom. I think you'll find at least 1 or 2 things that could be really, really helpful for you. So I hope you'll go check out that video, and I'll see you again in the next one.
It's so unnecessary dwelling about the past, 'cause I know that God is good. He led me to where I'm at. Sometimes I feel like giving up, you're giving in, but everything happens for a reason. It won't always be blue skies ahead. Sometimes you might need more just like iron. Sharpens iron, making me stronger, calling me higher. When we come together, just like iron. Sharpens iron, making us stronger, calling us higher. When we're helping each other, we're growing together.